What's up, everybody? It's Jeremy, and we are hanging out back in the attic. I'm pretty sure they just drug me out from underneath a motorhome and said, hey, you're going to go and talk to somebody that has this really, really cool bus. And I said, well, of course, I love buses. Why wouldn't I want to do that? And then what's even better about it is it's lifted. So we are hanging out here in the podcast with Steven. And what's up? How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
You know, I mean, I can't complain. Yeah. This is fun. Get to come and hang out and meet cool people, talk to cool people. I mean, you know, have a little bit of beard envy as I hang up in here. But I don't know if I could. I always joke around is like, it always sounds really good to grow it out like that. And then it starts to grow out and it just bugs my face. And then I started teasing MV because MV actually used to have a pretty crazy beard, and then he had to clean up his act, you know? So I don't think it really worked, but
I was telling my wife on the way down here that I should have brought my brush because I had to have the window down because it's so hot in the bus and just the wind just going through and shaving me down. But there's definitely an awkward stage where you got to get through it.
Yeah,
it's
I just
either
can't.
Homeless or woodsman.
Yeah, see, and that's the problem is I can't. And the other thing is I'm wearing a helmet all the time. So when we race and do that sort of thing, so I'm like, it just in my helmet like just pisses me off. So I've just learned that even like before a race or before we go do something, I'm like, okay, get it down to like almost nothing, just so that it doesn't bug me.
Yeah.
But
I grow it because I hate to shave, but then also my wife loves it.
See, my wife would probably be pretty happy if I had a strong as beard game, but then I think at the same time, I'm a mess and I'm always dirty. So she'd be like, dude, that thing is disgusting. You need to do something with it. I'm like, you told me to grow this out, you know? So how long have you been married?
Going on since 2013.
Okay.
So 11 years. In April, we're doing our 11-year anniversary.
Nice. Any big plans?
Yeah, going to do a whole day. Going to have my mom come over, watch our girls, and then take my wife out for some brunch and just a whole day in Long Beach and Huntington Beach and walk around and just really treat her right.
Just get to do everything that she would normally want to do.
Yes.
You know, it's supposed to be like Home Depot, Bed Bath & Beyond, you know, going straight from old school. You know, I love that.
Yeah,
so,
as long as she's happy and I can take care of her, then I get to do the stuff I want to do.
Yeah, and that's important. You know, they say happy wife, happy life.
Yep.
And I think that's one thing. I'm like, what do you want to do? Okay, we're going to go and do that just to keep it exciting. Now, you have 2 girls?
2 daughters, yes.
Okay,
sir.
and how old are they?
6 and 8.
Okay, and how's that going so far?
It's good. Just came off of spring break.
Okay.
And it was a week and a day. And
really? Only 1 week?
Only 1 week.
Dude, we had 2 whole weeks, so it was just
Jeez.
Yeah.
I couldn't even imagine. But it was fun because we did like a few days of hours at the park.
Okay.
I'm sitting there on a little grassy hill and they're just playing for hours. I'm watching other families come and go.
Right.
It's like, okay, are they done yet? Nope. All right, get my book. And they're just playing.
I mean,
fun.
you can't, ask for more than that. And that's the one thing that's great is like having 2, then they entertain each other. Because otherwise they would be like, Dad, come help, go do this. Dad, do this. Dad, do this. And you're like,
get that.
I'm like, hey, I think the one great thing about having the young kids, I'm like, they're going to keep me young. Right. You know, like you have to be active. You got to be doing stuff. Mm-hmm. My girls are 5 and 8. So that's why I'm like, I'm right there with you. So yeah, I totally get it. Good time. And I just love how much they still love me, you know, because we have a 16-year-old and she's like, dude, she don't want nothing to do with us. You know, like it's like this or like if you I'm even see them, you know, so yeah, those are the fun days you have to look forward to.
Yeah. Nervous.
Oh yeah.
When boys or whoever comes home and just like, okay, I got to be a good dad, be supportive, but also be protective.
Yeah.
You know,
it's such a different, I think it's such a different dynamic than, you know, from like probably when you were growing up and with the whole girls. I mean, I think that's just something that's, you know, completely different nowadays with social media and so.
Yeah, my wife and I have been talking about like the cell phone thing, and my wife's idea is not till they're about 15.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, right.
So we found there's a watch called the Gab watch. And so what it is my son, he's 10, just turned 11. So what it is I can go into my phone and control like everything. So I can control who can call him, who he can call, who he can message. There's no internet on it. So you can't go and surf the web and go find stupid stuff. There's no social media apps. It just allows us to be able to get in touch with him. I can shoot him a text message. He can talk to his friends, and text his friends. So it's like keeping it confined, just to that. And then I control even who he talks to, and like, it turns off. I can set it so it turns off at 8. So it's just something, to think about as you,
that's helpful.
We're not even going to talk about vans or buses. This is like the parenting.
Yeah, right.
Like, hey, this is parenting tips 101. Because I mean, it's all these things that you start to learn that really make it. I mean, it's important, because you don't want your kids to feel like, oh, my parents are just a-holes and won't let me have anything. So it's like finding that happy medium, that balance where you're like, okay, here, we'll let you have this, but you got to show me all of it. Yeah. Like that you're disciplined, that you're going to be good with it. And then you can have more.
And that's the key. You said it's Gab?
Yeah. Gab. Okay. There's actually 2 different ones. So, but yeah, I mean, you'll be able to play this back and be like, search, it's like GABB. This podcast is sponsored by Gab watches. Yeah, one day, but yeah, no, it's definitely one of those things. So you are not living in your bus.
I'm not.
Just for fun bus.
Yes.
So what made you out of everything? So if you guys don't know, off-road school bus.
Yes, sir.
What possessed you to even do this?
So I bought an E350 van.
Okay.
And
normal van, like passenger cargo van.
Passenger van. And it's a shorty. And didn't build out the inside, but got some seats for my daughters and put a flooring in. And I've taken my wife and daughters out camping. And I've just been enthralled with the idea of a school bus. Got into a fire pit business, so making ammo can fire pits. And it was something where I got into the four-wheel drive community. And it just so happened that I found a school bus for very inexpensive out of 29 Palms. Pulled the trigger, didn't get
So let's talk how inexpensive.
$5,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I think that's important. Like one of the big things that we like talking about is just like how much for some of these people that do live full time in their van, like what is the entry to it? How much does it cost to live in a van too? Because you would think like, oh, I'm going to spend $500. And we start talking to some of these people and it's pretty interesting that, I mean, they're spending still $2,500, $3,000 a month between food and gas. And, so it's not like it's super cheap, and it's not like most of these people are either working remote or trying to do like influencer type stuff, because it's still not cheap.
Right. Yeah. The van, I thought, or the bus, after looking online and seeing prices, $5,000 for 7.3, 95. So it's pre-smog. Don't have to have it smogged ever. I thought that was right. I thought that was a killer steal.
Right.
And it came private party, but directly from the school district.
Okay.
So it had all the papers with it. It had records of what they did to it, service records. And I just thought for $5,000, people are selling them online for 10, 15.
So then once you got it, did it still have all the seats in it? Everything was in it?
Seats, yeah.
So then was that like project one, or did you guys take it home and were like, hey babe, we're going for a ride in my bus, and what was going on there?
Well, my wife didn't appreciate me doing it.
Okay. Sounds about right.
Yeah. She didn't give the okay. So I'll kind of fall on my sword.
So you were going with the more like, instead of asking permission, it's like asking for forgiveness.
Yes.
You were going that route.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm still getting her into the idea. She sees that it's helpful for me.
I mean, what wife doesn't want a school bus in their driveway?
Right.
I mean, come on.
That's her thing.
Yeah.
Every day she walks out to her car and she's like, oh, school bus. But she sees them having fun. My daughters love riding in it.
They think it's the greatest thing ever. I mean, I've always joked around with my oldest. I'm like, I'm going to get a school bus. And especially when you're in high school, I'm going to take you to school, and I'm going to we keep saying that we're going to build one for growing up garage and where it's just a whole workshop inside it. So we could just roll up to a place and, open it up and have, our whole workshop in there. But I just think it'd be so much fun to take my kids to school in just because.
Yeah. Yeah. And what's kind of a bummer is that we live about a block away from our school that my daughters go to.
They're like,
I could drive them in
by
the
time
school
you
bus.
even get it warmed up, you're like, dude, we could be walking there by now.
Right. Yep. And we're on an exit way on the street. So all the cars that are dropping their kids off are right in front of our driveway. So it's it's fun to walk there. It's fun to have them see it and everyone else see it.
Right.
But getting them into it, going to the car wash, they get out and they help me wash it in those drive-through car washes.
Okay.
And they just have a blast.
So now you were starting to talk about doing the fire pit. So elaborate on that. So what made you even get into that?
So I saw a lot of DIY ammo can fire pits online.
Okay.
And I made one for my daughters for the backyard to do s'mores on.
Okay.
And they wanted me to paint it pink. Cool. And just started looking around and nobody had offered colors. So I'm like, you know what? That's something I can bring different to the business.
Right.
And there's people out there that make them, they're super high end and they're nice. I bought a couple.
Yeah.
But my thing is colors, you can match it to your rig. And it affords me to get out to these events that I'm going to, as well as the money that comes in, I put into the bus.
Got it.
So it's nice. It's kind of like getting out, getting part of the community, and then putting it into the bus and going on trail runs and being part of that community as well.
And now what has been out of some of these events, what has been some of your, what is the most memorable, and not even per sales wise, but even just they're oh, I can't wait to go to that event again.
I'd say Rodeo and Rigs, their events.
And where was this at?
They're the most memorable one, I would say, was it was up north, and it was in San Francisco area, but it was off the bay.
That was a trek then for you to go there.
Yeah. Yeah. I made it a weekend. I took my wife up there. It was the first event that she had gone to with me.
Okay.
And when she dropped me off with the fire pits and set up the tent and everything, she's like, wow, I see why you like this. She got to see the vehicles. She got to see the camaraderie. She got to see the community part of it. And she got to see me in action. And she just was kind of in awe, just more understanding now. Okay, I see what you're doing. It's it felt good to have that. Yeah,
because now you feel like that she's in your corner.
Yeah,
basically.
Yeah.
And so now, even with that, so now you set a tent. So your bus is not set up to sleep in, or
it's not. So the tent, I mean, a easy up.
Okay. Got it. Okay.
I went to the King of the Hammers this year with the bus, slept in it. I have a cot in the back.
Okay.
And oh man, that cot is not long enough. It's either my feet are hanging off or my head is hanging off.
Got it.
And I felt like I've got some mats in there. I felt like I could just throw my sleeping bag on the mats and it'd be the same as sleeping outside.
Now, why not even do just even a big air mattress or something like that until you're...
It's a good question.
I mean, I'm just, I'm just curious. I feel like they're just easy. I mean, that's what I used to do in my van, because it was just a cargo van, and it was these quick trips. I'd throw an air mattress in, because then it would be I could deflate it, still put my bikes, my surfboard in, go have fun, and then, at night just kind of tuck everything to the side, or put a chain through it, run the chain through my wheel on my van, and then be okay, cool, no one messed with it, just to be able to. I was I want to sleep inside,
Yeah, that's a good call. Coming up to the Overland Expo in Arizona.
Up in Flagstaff.
Yeah.
Coming up like next month.
Right.
Are you going to be going to that?
I will be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you get a booth there?
Didn't get a booth.
You're just going to hustle it?
Yeah.
Nice, dude.
And I'll take the air mattress.
Dude, hey, you know, I'm a team player. You can be like, hey, thanks, Jeremy, for giving me this
Thank
right
you.
here, dude. Because I'm going to sleep good because you're going to probably be there for 3-4 days.
It's going to be Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then leaving Sunday.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, like trying to get out of there. And that's the thing is like, man, you almost have to get out of there like a little bit early on Sunday because otherwise then by the time it closes at like noon or 1, and then just it's crazy. Yeah. So
everyone's trying to get out. Everyone's packing up.
Now, have you been to that show before?
I haven't. This will be the first time.
Good times. So.
Yeah. Bringing a buddy, and we're going to, he keeps asking me, so we're sleeping in the bus or we're sleeping outside? And I told him, well, I'll bring my tent. So if you want, like, we have the option.
Right.
You know, we can either sleep inside on the air mattress.
There you go.
Or, you know, if you don't feel comfortable with that, the tent's outside, you could go sleep outside.
And it's so nice because that whole area is just beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, just sleeping in the trees and like, I mean, we went and hit some amazing trails out there as well. I mean, just tons and tons of just off-roading. I mean, you're just going through these beautiful trees, and it's
nice.
It's completely different than what I'm used to here in SoCal. You know, like when we go off-roading, it's usually the desert. Right. You know, you go up into the mountains, you get these trails, but nothing like the trees. And I know last time we just got some epic pictures, so you'll definitely get some amazing pictures of, you know, the bus out there, I'm sure. So we'll all be able to see it on Instagram, you know, live vicariously through you. I don't know if we're going there this year. We were a couple of people were talking about putting our vans in their booth, but it's always, we'll know like the day before.
Yeah,
that's how I usually roll. I'm like, oh hey, by the way,
we're rolling up. We're gonna be there, so you better make space.
And what's crazy is I think the first time I went there, and man, like I don't even know, 2018, no man, 17 probably was the first time I went. And it was still so small that I was able to, like, when you get there, you'll see it. It was like they had the parking lot kind of roped off sort of thing, but it was so small that I just kind of rolled up and parked on the end of the parking lot and was like, hey, and opened up the van.
Right.
And just kind of hung out, and it was a good time, and, you know, talked to people, and just me and my son just went and winged it. We're like, we're going to go check this out. Never been. Super cool. And it's insane how big it's gotten.
Yeah, I mean, one of my buddies was telling me, get there a little early, and that way you can park, like you said, close to the entrance.
Right.
And then, you know, if you have stuff have on the side or whatever, people are going to see you as they come in.
Yeah, no, definitely like the closer that you can get. But I mean, that's what's hard is now it's gotten so big that you can really only drive around it. It's even hard to park because like even where one of the parking lots now is all, we're used to be able to just kind of park as well. Now that's all display space. Like it's nuts how it's exploded. I mean, it's insane.
Okay.
So, but yeah, I mean, it doesn't hurt to try, you know, I mean, that's where I'm always at, you know, but I think the other cool thing would be is like, you know, you always have the opportunity to just walk around. I mean, people are camped everywhere, right? You know, it's like, hey, check this out. And, you know, be able to see.
That's my thing. It's the bus is so different.
Yeah.
And it's an eye catcher. And especially now that the suspension's done and got a couple things on the sides, it's just like, whoa, what is that? You know, I'm driving down here, I'm looking and people are giving me thumbs up on the drive and just checking it out.
I know it almost looks like you're going to need to go bigger tires.
Yes. I have 33s on there.
And they almost look small.
Yes. I wanted 35s. And when they brought them out, I was like, these aren't 35s. Like, yeah, but we can do this deal and all that. I said, okay,
yeah,
cool.
But then it's like, and just, you know, food for thought is like, then you're going to have to really think about doing re-gearing it.
Yep.
So it's like, and then it's like, well, you're going to re-gear it. So now you're going to do a locker in the rear as well. And you can do onboard air, you know, like what, you know, so it's just this like trickle effect of like oh, I want to start with this. And then by the time you know it, so like on my van, when I went to 35s, I went to like a 456 gear. Now, however, that was in the 5.4 gas. Okay. You know, so just depending on what your gear ratio is now. Because in a bus, you'd think it'd be like a 456 already.
I have no idea.
So I know like in some of the motorhomes and things of that nature, it would already come with like a 410, 456. So then you're going like 513, 520, you know, like it starts to jump up a bit. So yeah, just all, you know, food for thought. One more thing to spend money on, you know, so you better start hustling those cans.
Yeah. After this last run in Ocotillo, we went with a guy who had a locker on his E350. Okay. And, he said, you know, he was taking it like no problem. Yeah. And I was taking some stuff, no problem. But then I got stuck in some sand and I'm thinking, it's not I've been stuck in sand before, right. But I'm thinking, man, if I had that locker, I probably.
Now, were you aired down? Out of it.
I was, yeah.
To what?
I was down to 30.
Okay.
On the heavy, on that bus.
Yeah.
So that was pretty low, I think, for the bus just because of the weight. Probably could have gone down to about 25, but it handled pretty well.
It's all your friend at that point, you know.
Right.
So it's like the more and more that you can get rid of, that's huge. So what was the Ocotillo event like? I saw some pictures of there because there was another dude with our
the Baja
grocery getter.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a lot of flat.
Is that your first time ever down there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was the first time on the suspension too, so it was a good time. Some of the riverbed stuff was washed out, so it was pretty sandy, and I felt like I had to take it a little bit faster than.
That's what it's all about, faster.
I was telling my buddy, because my friend Robert, he came as a passenger, and I was like, I want to get there. You know, like some people going slow because we're the second or third person in the lineup. And
now, was it all vans or was it just different?
No, it was all different vehicles. Okay. Mostly Jeeps. Okay. There was a two-wheel drive Tacoma and then that E350 two-wheel drive. And the leaders were taking it quick, but everyone else was taking it slow.
And now, is this that Rigs and Brew? Is this what that is, or is this a different event?
So it was after the Rigs and Brews.
Okay.
And it was with SoCal Trail Raiders Club.
Okay.
And they're super inclusive. You know, they're not a Jeep club or anything specific. Located down here in San Diego.
Okay.
But it was a blast. It was so much fun just romping. At one point, we were out and it was just open and just hitting little whoops, and I was just testing it out.
And now, were you guys going from like heading towards the plaster plant, kind of like out that way?
Couldn't tell you.
Okay.
Yeah. I was just following the leader.
Nice.
We went under a bridge.
Yeah, I saw that. So that's called Sandbar.
Okay, so we
started where all the stuff's at.
Right. Okay. Yeah, we started there, took some pictures, and then went out. And just at one point, there was a rock wall.
Okay.
And with the sand and it being washed out, I took it a little quick and kind of scraped that rock wall. So my mirror that I just put on there.
That's pretty standard. Like, put something new on, first trip out, guaranteed to mess it up. Yep. I think that's definitely.
Yeah, so got a little scrapage on the body. The body of the mirror kind of broke, but it's attached to the fender. Didn't move.
So then you bought the van in what year?
It's been 2 years, so 2022.
Okay, so then this is even. So what was could you tell a big difference from your normal stock suspension? It's 95. It's 20 years old. It was blown out.
Yes.
100%.
So I could just hitting the bumps in the freeway or on the street. The whole, prior to getting the upgrade, the whole van would shake. Like it would throw stuff in the back. It was like you just tripped and then you fell.
Right.
But now I'm hitting stuff and it's just like, boom. It's barely anything. It's nice.
And then what did you think out there, like going through the washes and stuff like that?
Oh, it was great. There was only one time I think I got up on 3 wheels, and that was the one time that anything flew in the back.
Right.
everything handled great. There was no like, whoa, wee. You know?
Yeah, and I think that you're going to notice by just looking at your van, once you start adding some more weight to it,
right.
like you're going to really start to notice the suspension work because it's going to take a little bit more. Like you're saying, it's still like really empty in the rear. Mm-hmm. So it's like, yeah, once you start adding more weight to it, you're really going to know just how those springs really start to just work even better. And that's the fun
I went
part.
with the 8,000 pound spring in the rear because the idea is eventually to build it out and put some weight in the back and still be able to do the stuff that I want to do.
So have you always been into vehicles? Has this been something that, or just all of a sudden, YouTube inspired you to buy a bus because Heavy D bought like 15 buses, I mean, no, but what was it?
In high school, I was part of a car club and I would, for some reason, been a Ford guy.
Okay.
Had a 65 Ford Mustang. And everyone else had their Nissans and Acuras and all their Japanese stuff. And got out of that, got into cycling, and then got...
Like bicycling?
Bicycles,
Oh, it sounds so much fun.
Yeah. Did that in the industry for like 20 years.
20 years. Yeah, I'm like, dude, unless it has a motor on it, we're not friends, most likely, so... And that was pre-beard, though, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm like, you can't cycle with a beard like that.
No.
That's just kill you, not to mention just catch everything.
Right. It'd be all up in my face. And
yeah.
I can't see. But no, then got the van, got back into camping, got back into kind of the automotive stuff, out of muscle car stuff and into more what can I do with this vehicle? I'm not out racing. I'm not...
More as like a tool.
Yeah. And then I wanted more space, but I got the Shorty bus. So it's the same length as my Shorty van,
and it's still a single rear wheel,
right? So and that's the one thing I wanted. I didn't want the dually.
Yeah, because now it's like, okay, you can even run a wider rim in there. You can go to that bigger tire because that's like one of the biggest things that when we see a lot of people do the buses or even the motorhomes. You really get limited by that. And then you're like, well, do I really want to run a wheel spacer? There's just so many other things going on there that it's like,
right.
So now other cars, this is it. This is your daily driver.
No, I have a Toyota Camry.
Oh,
that's my daily driver.
Super sweet.
I inherited that from my wife. She got a Subaru. So
okay.
I got her car.
My wife has a Camry and I'm like, dude, I love driving this thing.
Right.
Like it's just cruising. I mean,
and now I'm having a hard time registering the bus.
Oh.
So the DMV...
Can't you register it as a motorhome?
Right. So they've been registering it when I go to register as a school bus, but I have personalized plates. It's a vehicle plate. It's not like a emergency
commercial plate or anything
like that. And I've been trying to do it through AAA, and AAA is just like, I have no idea what's going on because it says one thing, but everything else is you're not commercial. So now I have to go get it inspected. I've got to show I'm going to try and work it to where my cot is my bed, my refrigerated cooler is my refrigerator, and I have a toilet bucket. So I'm like, hey, it's an RV.
Yeah, I don't even think that those people are smart enough to care.
Right?
Like they're like, cool, a toilet, a sink, because it's only got to have like two things. So it's like, yeah, there it all is. Like, do you really think I'm taking kids to school in this thing?
Right.
I mean, come on.
That's what I say. That's how they wanted me. They sent me a piece of paper that said, fill this out, get it inspected. You got to have the school bus seats. You've got to have all this extra stuff for a private school bus. I'm like, but it's not a school.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not doing that.
That's how I feel like everybody gets around it, is even because now when we were looking at the older buses, as long as they're not a commercial type bus or you're only going to drive it so many miles, there's all sorts of ways to help you get it registered so that you don't have to have
And I ended up deciding to just go for it and get the 5-inch Baja Grocery Getter kit with the Fox shocks and the progressive leaf springs in the rear.
I cannot explain how much better the van is now. It drives like an entirely new vehicle.
And there you have it. This is the completed Well-Tech Designs Baja Grocery Getter 5-inch lift kit. Here's a little before and after. Yeah, and that is a cool transformation.
All right, today's the day when we're taking the Well-Tech Designs Baja Grocery Getter kit out of the garage, putting it on the van.
Like an injured bird, needing a nest, a place to rest.
All in all, I am very pleased with the lift. It is super crazy. It's super fun. We've taken it out on multiple camping trips already. Everywhere I go, people stop me and go, what in the heck is up with this thing? I'm driving down the road and you'll see dudes like rubbernecking trying to check it out. It's crazy. I park it at work and people are just blown away with it.
Are you kidding me? In that van? On an ATV trail? So let me tell you, it was so good to put those KO2 tires that are on my van and that Well-Tech lift kit to the test. First time ever I've had it out here and done something like that. Treated this thing like a go-kart with a Well-Tech Designs Baja Grocery Getter lift kit.
All right, so we are back hanging out up here in the attic with the bearded man, you know, having a good time, just talking vans. And then we started talking about crazy cats and dogs. And then I was enlightening him how my dog, Ford, you guys have probably seen him in some of the videos, but he's just ridiculous. And for Easter, my girls, and that's why I was saying you have this to look forward to, is they actually dressed him up in like a skirt and bunny ears and were like awesome. Walking him around, like having a good time. So, yeah, I mean, it's...
that's so cool.
You know, I mean, I think it's fun. So, I mean, they are definitely, they're awesome. Dog's awesome. So we were talking about the van and also talking about the fuel bowl diesel leak.
Oh, geez.
So what happened there?
So had a show in Pomona at the Fairplex, and it's a 2-day event. Go out there on Saturday. Everything's fine. Come back Sunday morning, go and get a coffee on my way out there. And I come back out, and from underneath the bus, it's raining. And I'm looking at it. It's not just like a drip. It's raining fluid. And I had no idea what it was. I kind of touched on the ground what it was, smelled it, couldn't really tell, had a film to it. And I thought, you know what? If it's oil or if it's water, I'll figure it out in the next 2 minutes. You know, I'll drive it and see what happens. And go out to La Habra, pick up my buddy, and wasn't overheating, nothing temperature gauge wise.
You didn't even notice the fuel gauge is just like...
I wasn't even looking. Wasn't even looking at that. I was looking at the other gauges.
You just have that one. You have it like a piece of electrical tape over it, so you can't even see it anymore.
Yeah,
it's just sad.
Couldn't tell. But it made it. It made it to my friend's house in La Habra, went up and over some hills into Pomona, and got to the Fairplex, and it wasn't leaking. So, must have fit. You know what?
Yeah.
It fixed itself. And then afterwards stopped at a friend's house and saw that it was raining again. And this time I caught the fluid instead of getting it off the ground and smelled it. And I was like, wow, that's fuel. And then now after that, realizing that it was the fuel leaking out, did some research, looked like, I guess it's a common problem with these is that the fuel bowl and a water separator,
man,
they just starts to leak.
Man, I would have been like, now's the perfect time to plug this company I met out at Quartzsite. And they were talking about, because I have the 6.6 Duramax in the van. And we were talking about that whole fuel water separator. And I'm totally going to, they were like directly across from me too. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. But they were talking about just how much water is in the fuel and just and fuel pressure, and just, it was pretty neat. But
yeah, this, I took it to a guy down the street from me. So made it home safe. There was no issues. Took it down the street to his diesel shop. He ended up putting 3 different fuel bowls and fuel pumps in there. First one, it just leaked out of the like the extra little fuel hose. It just was pouring, and this was brand new, well, rebuilt, but brand new. And then the second one, it had no pressure. So it wasn't pumping fuel into the engine. And then the third one he got was an OEM one. And that is what I have now.
Okay.
And it's fixed it. It's run no problem, no leaks, new hoses, new fuel lines. So it's
could have almost been really bad, but luckily it wasn't.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it hit the pocketbook, but it's a 30-year-old bus. So I figure that stuff's going to happen. Lines
only
are going to crack.
It's not even 20. 2005. No, it's 95. Oh, 95. Yeah, I don't see.
So I'm looking at 30 years next year.
30 years coming up. You know, so yeah, dang, she's gonna need some lot of love.
Yeah, it's happening.
And how many miles are on it?
276.
Okay, so I mean, they say that's like the 1,000,000-mile,
right?
Bus.
And that's what I look at. And I tried to do the fuel bowl myself.
Yeah.
You have to take everything off. You got to take the air cleaner off. You got to take the turbo off. And then
I'm right there with you. So I have a 65 Galaxy, and I'm like, I'm going to just do a tune-up on it, change the plugs, do blah, blah, blah. Was just not running, like, great.
Yeah.
And still couldn't figure it out. Then all of a sudden it wouldn't start. I'm like, like it was just plugs, like,
yeah.
Seriously, like, what the heck? Like, did one at a time so I didn't mix up the wires. And, just didn't want to start after that. So same thing. Fuel pump went bad. Just started like dumping fuel into the engine.
Oh boy.
So then it was like, I was like, okay, same sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like I can do a decent amount. I'm like, nope, taking it in.
Yeah.
Just give it back to me, done.
Yep.
I will.
Yeah, and the hardest part with the vans or in the bus is that
there's no space.
The engine compartment is tiny. It's half in the cab, half under the hood.
Yeah, this has a 6-foot hood on it,
Yeah.
I mean, it's giant.
Yeah.
And I'm still like, nah, I'm good.
That's how my Mustang is same thing. Tried to do all the work, tried to do everything, and ended up doing even a top end on it, top end gaskets on the engine. And still, like, we did that. My dad and I did that. But it's just a mess because some things I've never trained in it.
Right.
It's hit or miss. And if I do it right, cool. And if I do it wrong, I'm on the freeway on the side of the road.
Yeah, there you go. And then you're like, man, now I got to get this thing towed, and it's more expensive. So we know you have girls, and when you know that, I know for me personally, having girls, I spend a lot of time painting nails or even getting my nails painted.
Yes.
But now that is that, how did this come about with you painting your nails?
Oh, for me, I love it. My daughters love to get we do like a spa day at the house.
Dude, and I think that's just like, the other day my daughter was like, you want to do a spa day? And they like went and got a bucket and like, put your feet in it. I'm like, okay, cool. You know, like, okay, you're in the spa. And I was like, okay, I love it though. I mean,
I ended up, so my wife has this big bucket of her own nail polish.
Okay.
And we would do theirs, and their fingers are so tiny. So it's like just one little strip and you're done. And then I would let them do mine. And then I ended up getting my own nail polish because I didn't want the colors my wife had.
Oh, geez.
So I had, like, for Halloween, I did orange and black.
Okay.
I had them do orange and black every other one. And I've got some neon green, just off the wall.
Right.
And I'll leave it on,
okay.
Because, like, I don't care. I'm a dad of daughters, you know? And so go to the grocery store. Oh,
yeah, I'm always like hashtag girl dad.
Right, exactly. And people love it, and I love it. And that's the thing for me is, again, I like to be on the fringe of like what's fun.
Yeah,
I honestly
you don't want to
really
be
care.
like, I'm not doing that because that's just weird.
Right.
I mean, I guess everything's pretty much acceptable these days, but that's a whole different story of.
Right, but being weird is, to me, like, there was one time in high school. I don't know if you remember Tom Green.
Yeah, totally. Like, that dude was the wackiest dude out there.
Yeah, so growing up with his show, and then Jackass coming on and doing all this weird stuff. In high school, I went to school in a wetsuit.
Okay.
And in third period, it was our camera or like photo class. And I was like, oh, it'd be funny because this wetsuit is just skin tight. would be funniest if I would take my socks off and stuff my pants. And I did that, had fun, and, just getting looks. And to me, that's the thing. It's like getting looks, having fun, whatever, people care. If they do, they do. If they don't, they don't. It's just all about having fun and getting out there and doing weird stuff.
So now you kind of mentioned that. So like what you're doing for work these days is not fun anymore.
Yeah.
How long have you been doing it?
So I've been in law enforcement for the last 8 years.
Okay.
And I love the job. It's just, it takes a toll. It's something where you're always in the crappiest of the crappiest with people, dealing with bad days all day, every day. And again, the investigation part of it.
Is that what you do?
Fun.
What do you do?
Well, I was in the jails, went out to patrol, and then I was like, you know what? I'm not doing patrol. That's just too much. My wife is having a hard time thinking I'm never going to come home. I want to come home to my daughters and be happy. And so I went back to the jails, and even that, people have bad days. People get arrested.
See, I think that would be even harder because everybody there is an a-hole versus like, at least on the street, like sometimes you're dealing with like, just somebody that had a problem or, it's like, it's not just always that like bad person. It's just like, hey, I got my car stolen. They're sad, depressed. I mean, whatever it may be. But I'm just saying, I feel like in the jails, it would just be.
Yeah, I think a lot of it was knowing that I would come home safe and knowing that I could be there as a dad and a husband. And at least I knew what I was getting into in the jails. I mean, you always have to have your guard up, and that definitely took a toll, but respect goes a long way in there. And that's my thing is they're in here for something else. Somebody got arrested. They're in there for that. I'm not in here to make their life harder. I'm in here to just make sure they get to court and do their thing.
Right. And now in working in the jails, you're allowed to have the beard?
No.
Oh.
No. You can have a mustache.
So how do you get away with this now?
So I'm on disability right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Out with PTSD and a shoulder injury.
Okay.
And it's been good. It's been a struggle, but gonna retire out and do something different. Looking at the post office.
Were you in the military?
I wasn't.
Okay.
No, but a lot of the guys, on the department were.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I got the idea of the fire pits.
Okay.
Is them, and I got a few boxes from them and made one, and it was it's fun.
Now it says, let's talk about the Jones bicycles, or what did you do after Jones bicycles?
Okay. So, Jones was a shop in Long Beach, a bicycle shop in Long Beach, and they established in 1910.
Wow.
And I was there up until from 2010 or so.
So this was before the sheriffs?
Yeah.
Okay.
To 2016. And I was a manager of the shop down there in Belmont Shore in Long Beach. And
so like that seems like fun, like kind of a good deal. So then what made you even want to like get out of?
Just started a family.
Okay.
So my daughter was just born, looking at retirement, looking at
the whole pension. And,
yeah.
No, I mean,
providing.
It's funny because I joke around a lot. Like I actually went to college, have a degree in criminal justice.
Okay.
Went through the police academy.
Nice.
Totally wanted. And in the police academy, I met this guy who was an iron worker. When I was like, oh, I'm going to learn how to weld. Cool. Make good money. And then I was like, started doing more stuff with the police department and was just kind of realized that it wasn't for me per se. Definitely I think that one of those things that it's like you kind of figure out if it is or isn't real quick.
Yeah.
And here I am like 2 years later still building vans, I think it's
that's the thing, like with growing up garage, like that's super interesting to me. You have kids teaching kids how to work on stuff.
Well, because you got to think about it. Like if I'm going to have you teach some kid you don't know, they don't know you. Like, how intimidating is that?
Right.
You know, like, it's just, even if you didn't have the crazy beard, like, it's just intimidating from that pure fact of like our height, our size. Like, dang, I mean, like, some dude came up and was like 3 times my size and was like, hey, I'm going to teach you how to do this. I'm like, okay. Like,
I'm just going with it.
I'm not going to say no. So I think that that's the thing is like, when kids are doing it, there's just that dynamic involved of like, hey, we're just playing. And it's fun, and they don't realize they're learning. You know, so it's that brain building without necessarily being like, hey, you're going to learn how to do math, except we're going to talk about these socket sizes or something of that nature.
Yeah, so, I think that's so cool.
No, it is. It's definitely a lot of fun. We don't get to do it as much lately. It's just been so crazy and hectic. But yeah, it's definitely one of those things that as summer comes back up, we do the local car shows and other events like that. So but yeah, I mean, it's a good time. And I think one of the best parts about it is it really gets the whole family involved. Even my girls will come out, they'll do it. It gets them out of their comfort zone and makes them like have to talk to other people as well.
Right.
So I think that they're learning skills without even realizing it as well, because how many kids these days have a hard time just even talking to other kids. You know, they're so like in their element of like being on a device. And that's where even like the YouTube and what our goal is with the playground eventually to have this interactive, way of being able to get involved without necessarily being, at an event. And we actually have our book finally done. And
cool.
We're publishing our first children's book.
Nice.
Good, right? Like,
that's awesome. Coming through.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's definitely, why not?
Yeah.
Right? We all got to have that crazy thing we're still doing, keep us going, keep us. So now next up, I hear there was a fun Vegas experience. Talk about the Baker Vegas experience.
So, okay, Baker to Vegas.
Okay.
There's
the largest thermometer in the world.
Right. Yeah. There's a relay that's a national relay with law enforcement.
Oh my gosh. My neighbor is doing this. It's coming up.
Yes. Yeah. It's within the next couple weeks. Normally it's around the Final Four for college basketball.
Okay.
But I think it's either this coming up weekend or next weekend. And just agencies, law enforcement, fire, state agencies, federal agencies.
Yeah, she works for San Diego PD, and she's like, oh, my section is like 14 miles from and it starts at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, never. Like, I don't even want to drive to Vegas at 2 a.m, let alone run 14 miles at 2 a.m. when it's going to still be 90 degrees out.
So there was my second time running it.
So we know you're a smart one. Second time running it. You didn't learn the first time.
No, the first one was about 6 miles.
Okay.
And the second one I actually trained and did some hard work for it. And I had 11.2 miles. And like you said, it's about 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm wearing short running shorts. I'm wearing this tight spandex jersey for running. And at one point, they talk about a runner's high. And I'm running. There were probably about 3 people that passed me right away. And I'm just like, okay, it is a competition, but I'm not going to exert my energy right now because it's early. End up passing them back up. And so technically, I want to say only one guy passed me and finished the leg before me. But he was gone. This guy was a beast. He was out. But on the run, I had my Garmin watch on, and I'm keeping track of the miles. And I got ahead. I started counting ahead 1 mile. So by the time it was 12 miles, I'm like, where's this finish line? Why am I not done yet? But this runner's high, it's pitch black. I'm looking at the stars, and I start seeing things move. It was a trip. And my thing is, you just got to keep going. If you walk, but keep moving. There's no point in stopping because then you're just going to be done. Just keep trying. Keep trying.
There. Like, that's like one of the greatest things. If people could just do that in life. You know, it's like, I mean, there's always obstacles. It seems like tough and rough, but it's like, if you just keep moving, you will get past whatever it was that was an obstacle at one time and will not be. Even if you think you're lost, even if you are like, I don't know what's going on. I mean, to me, that's what I would always encourage people. It's like, no matter what, just don't stop and don't turn around, because that's what we so often in life, we're like, oh, it's easier to just go back. Like, I'm just going to turn around and go back. But yet that finish line was a half a mile away.
Right.
And you could have been like, oh, I'm past it, I'm going to go back a half mile. It's like, no, like no matter what, just keep moving forward.
That's my mom always said, never straight, always forward. You know, it's like, because straight lines go straight and they could go anywhere. But as long as you're moving forward, you're progressing. You're getting through whatever it is, and it's going to suck. And that run sucked. It was so bad. But
this is the second time it sucked.
I didn't learn the first time.
Yeah, that's where I'm like, oh, so obviously it sucks so bad that you did not do it again.
Well, then COVID happened.
Okay.
And I went out to patrol, and it was just a whole different ball game at that point, because they didn't have the competition that next year. But it was fun. Again,
you and I have a completely different reality of fun. You know, like we'll have to meet up in the desert. I will show you my fun,
right?
And there will be no running involved with it.
You know, yeah, the running. I haven't run since then. Since
I don't blame you. I probably wouldn't run again.
Yeah,
that would be my traumatic experience. That I would be like, no, I had to run through the desert. And I signed up to do it. Actually, I even paid.
I didn't have to pay for it.
Oh, so I'm like,
yeah, we didn't go that far.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. So the company that used to be next door to us, all they used to do is put on like the rock and roll marathon. They do all these marathon races. And I'm like, so you're telling me you go set up a course and people are going to pay you like $200 to come and run your course that is there every week, but they want to come and do it and pay you to do it. And I mean, it was funny. They're like, yeah, but they get one of these medals. I'm like, yeah, so do I. Every time when you guys come back on Monday and you have a box full of them left.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, look at, I did it. I got my medal. I completed it. So it's just one of those things that, yeah, unfortunately, I don't even think you're going to catch me on the bike doing it.
That's funny.
No.
Oh, and you know what? Speaking of bikes, like I had prior to getting onto law enforcement, I had a around the world trip planned on my bicycle, and went to Texas, Ozona, Texas, about 1,100 miles out. And so what am I doing? Like, I'm on the road alone.
I have another customer, and hopefully you're out there listening to this, because I told you were crazy when you were here. He is a school teacher. And every summer, so what he's doing is he's walking across the country.
Okay.
So every summer school gets out, he goes and starts walking.
Sure.
So like wherever he stopped last summer, he goes to that spot and starts walking. So all summer long, he is walking across the country. And so what he does is, he said he drops a bike off at like a certain point, and then he like walks to it and then like rides the bike up, another 10 miles.
Yeah.
And then the logistics, I was like, it didn't even matter. At that point, I'm like, you're just crazy. Like,
so it's in segments. I have one of my wife's close friends. She does that cycling. So she'll go through a state one piece at a time. And that's her thing, is that I'm going cross country, but I'm doing it one state at a time. And it's on her bicycle, and same thing. She'll do it just in a segment. And once she hits that border, she's done. And then the next, whenever, whether it's summer or whatever, she'll fly out to that point, get on her bike, and ride to the next border.
I'm sorry. There's just so many other things that I would think I would rather do than do that.
Yeah.
I mean, but to each their own. I think that's what makes it great is, we're not all the same, because if we were all the same, we'd be all boring. But yeah, no, thank you. I don't, like I will run like a mile and I'm like, all right, I'm good. that's it. So born and raised in Huntington Beach?
Southern California.
Okay.
Yeah, I moved around a lot in the Orange County, Inland Empire, and then settled down in Huntington.
Now, what was it about Huntington that made you I understand why, but what was it for you?
My wife.
Okay.
Yeah, she, I love her so much. But she was born and raised.
She's going to watch this.
I got to shout out to her.
He had to say that.
But
you should have heard what he was saying between commercials.
Oh, boy.
No.
No, but she was born and raised in Huntington, and her parents still live in Huntington.
Okay.
And when we met, I actually moved her out of her house into Long Beach. We went into Seal Beach and then bought a house in Huntington. And it's nice because they're about 4 miles away, the in-laws. And with our daughters, they're able to babysit, if we need them in an emergency. My mom lives in Long Beach, so she's pretty local. And you
got to love the housing. And how long ago did you guys buy?
2018.
So luckily.
Right at the end of the lull.
Right.
Yeah. So now it's doubled in equity.
It's stupid, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I look at it. I'm like, how are these people, paying? I mean, that house has got to be well over $1 million now.
Yeah.
And that's where it's like, what are you even doing to be able to, what do you do to afford $1 million, $1.2 million? Like, that's when you think of $1 million house, you think of this house is on the beach or it's a mansion, $1 million home. And you're like, $1 million home is like a 1,600 square foot house.
Yeah. You can get $1 million home in Fontana. It's crazy. In Fontucky, to me, a buddy of mine bought a house down the street and they're looking at 4.2. And they both work, and it's not something that they bought straight out, but it's a nice house, 2-story, about 6 bedrooms. It's nice. But I hear that 4.2, and I'm just like, how?
Well, not to mention, I'm like, even if you put down 20%, you're like, okay, that's still a $18,000 a month mortgage.
Yeah.
Okay, what
that's
do you
insane.
do that 18 grand, and that's that doesn't, that you still have a car payment and all the other stuff that goes.
Kids,
yeah,
so you got clothes.
You're bringing in 30, 40 grand a month. Man, I'm in the wrong business.
I leave it to them. That's one of the things that I kind of suffer getting out of law enforcement is the hours are always there. In fact, there's too many hours. So now it's just I'm feeling that hit, and I'm just like, okay, I'm going to go work for the post office.
Is that really what the goal is, or what?
It honestly is. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Still, I guess in service, I'll be in uniform.
Okay.
But be outside, deal with dogs instead of people.
There you go.
Yeah.
Those dogs, though, dude, I already know.
You got still spray.
You got
same
those
utilities.
Bad experience with it.
Yeah.
Which is just crazy. I mean, So, all right. Well, I think that is it. We're hanging out up here with Steven in the attic. Definitely got the rundown on the van, and then also your fireboxes. Where is the best place to be able to get one?
So on Instagram, Mighty Firebox.
Okay.
And really, it's my website's bunk. So either through DMs or hitting me at...
Hey, he just told you how much he loved his wife, and now he's like, hey, hit me up in my DMs.
Yeah, slide in there.
Yeah, slide into my DM.
That's really the best way.
All right.
Or at shows, at events. I'm hitting so many events in Southern California.
And do you post all the shows that you're going to be at on your site? Okay, nice. So then you can see that.
On the page, in the stories, both on the Mighty Firebox and Off-Road School Bus.
Awesome. Yeah. And then otherwise, Off-Road School Bus, like he said, go check it out. It's got a killer WeldTech Designs Baja Grocery Getter Kit suspension on it. I know it's going to need some bigger tires. Yeah. And, it's just one of those projects that never end. But thanks for taking the time to come down and hang out here in the attic, get to catch up, talk fun stuff. Dad life. That's half of it right there. So enjoy it if you have girls or boys. Otherwise, that's all I got. This is Jeremy. This is my world. Thanks for hanging out with me in it.